Hi everyone, Alan Schimmel, DevOps.com, DevOps TV here at DevOps Enterprise Summit 2017 in London. I'm joined by my friends from Electric Cloud. To my immediate right, CEO Steve Brodie, and to my far right, everything marketing in Electric Cloud, Sam Fell. Sam, Steve, welcome.
Thank you. Great to be here, Alan.
Yeah, again.
Again.
You know, you guys don't miss a DevOps Enterprise Summit.
No, well, you know, we were the co-founders of the DevOps Enterprise Summit,
so you started
yeah, so we decided we should come. You know,
yeah,
try come to our event.
So. It's probably a good thing.
Exactly.
But seriously, we're here in London. You know, usually beyond just talking about sponsoring and stuff like that, you guys announced some big news here this morning on a couple of fronts. Let's kind of peel them off. The first one was additions to your advisory board.
That's right.
2 heavyweights.
Yeah, so this morning we announced that we have added Dr. Nicole Forsgren from the DevOps Research Assessment team. Dora. And obviously, you know, she's an expert in DevOps metrics, the ROI of DevOps, and so a very valuable addition. We also added John Willis to our advisory board. So we're seeing a lot of influence of microservices and containers. That's becoming a big factor in the business. And so John is obviously an expert there, you know, co-author of the DevOps Handbook. And they join, Gene Kim, who's been an advisor for the company since 2013, and Gary Groover, who was an advisor since 2013 as well. So it's a great roster. We're really honored.
It's an all-star team.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, you know what though? I've been a startup and the founder of several companies with advisory boards, and our best man probably was our federal advisory board when I was selling a lot to the DoD. We hired a lot of generals. But you know, I wonder if many of our folks in the audience say, okay, that's an advisory board position. What does that actually mean? Where does rubber meet the road on that?
Yeah, Sam's driving a lot of this. So Sam, you want to kind of comment on?
Absolutely. So we're obviously the advisory board for us are a group that can help us understand what is happening in this market. This market is moving incredibly quickly, and we obviously are having lots of conversations with our customers, but they have a lot of conversations with people who aren't necessarily customers, who are just people who have needs, and they want someone to help them solve those problems, the challenges that they have. So by bringing on Dr. Forsgren, it's really important. One of the things that we're hearing a lot of is how do you tie back the business impact of DevOps? What kind of metrics should I be measuring if I'm just getting started and I want to understand where I am, or if I want to understand where I need to go? What types of things should I be paying attention to? And so watch this space. There's going to be a lot of stuff coming out from our product perspective, so we're going to be taking input from her from the product perspective to help us find those metrics that are going to matter to people and deliver them in a way that makes it actionable for them to be able to improve their performance and their delivery. From a John Willis perspective, obviously, as you mentioned, microservices are crazy hot, right? No one mentions DevOps without talking about containers and microservices. And so being able to have somebody who's been so influential in the field, who has so many conversations with so many different people about so many different architectures and so many different ways of doing things, and having him bring that knowledge to the table so that we can make intelligent decisions about where we place bets on creating solutions that are going to help people sort of take the rocket science out of it. Not everybody can be John Willis, but everybody should be able to have access to the same kinds of patterns and architectures and technologies that John Willis talks about at these DevOps days and at the DevOps Enterprise Summit.
Fantastic. You know, they're both friends of mine, and they're both incredibly, incredibly bright people. Yeah. And really, I mean, like anything else, it's only as well as you use them will be the ultimate value that they present to the company. But it's a deep bench right there.
Yeah. With Gary and with Gene also, as far as Gary's experience of actually implementing DevOps at scale with these very, very large companies, and obviously with Gene, who has helped companies implement, who has shown the light to people on why they would want to do it, and who's been just a visionary and sort of a leader for this movement for the past 10 years.
Yeah. So more news today though too, Steve, right? What else do we have?
Well, we haven't done an announcement on this, but I think one of the things that we're focused on quite a bit, which we alluded to before, is support for microservices and containers. And we continue to invest on this front. And as Sam said, there's no opportunity that we get into where customers don't want to understand the intersection of DevOps and microservices and containers. And so within our solution now, you can actually model microservices as a first-class citizen, containers are a first-class citizen in the solution. And what we find with many large enterprises, they may have some new applications that are architected from the ground up to be microservices only. We can support that. Many of these organizations have these portfolios of applications that are more traditionally multi-tier architecture. And then what we also see is some of the banks are refactoring their applications to introduce microservices into a traditionally oriented application. And so the ability to model and support all of that as you're sort of evolving and moving from traditional to more microservice, have to maintain that traditional portfolio is pretty important. The other thing is this market is so red hot, and how you deploy the various deployment targets. You may be running this thing with Kubernetes on premise. Maybe it's Google's container engine, Amazon's container service. And there's so much in flux that people may start with one deployment target, and over time they may decide that they want to move somewhere else. So maybe people will start with Amazon, but over time they want to deploy to Kubernetes on premise. We abstract that all away for you. So you just basically model it out. You say, I want to deploy, and it's just a drop down. You say, I want to deploy this to Amazon, or I want to deploy this to Kubernetes or to OpenShift. We handle all the specifics. You don't have to learn all the nuances of each target.
No, that's fantastic. Especially, the container and microservices. And before we go any further, I want to be clear. You don't necessarily have to do containers to use microservices.
No, absolutely not.
Nor do you have to use microservices if you're deploying containers.
That's absolutely
they
correct.
They are separate and apart.
That's
right. And in some ways, microservices are just exploding even beyond containers.
Absolutely.
But that being said, we're still early in the container game,
Mm-hmm.
right? Though I think today, the numbers is something north of 85% of people who deploy containers use Docker as the container.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But the number of people who are using for management and orchestration that are using the Docker, Swarm or enterprise or the entire Docker stack is much, much lower. Kubernetes, Mezio, and a host of others, no pun intended, are making. We don't know who the winner is going to be.
That's right. Yeah, so that's one of the advantages is really future-proofing that. So again, you kind of see, the rise of Mesos, it's kind of, in some places, people are saying maybe that's not the one that's going to be the path of the future. But this totally future-proofs it for you.
Right.
You just model your application, we'll handle all the back end. If you want to shift downstream, if a new player comes in, we'll plug that in and we'll provide support for whatever, the leader becomes.
It also gives folks the ability to use a less expensive solution closer to the dev side of things, and reserve the, whatever kind of SLA they need for production runtime, to use that in the appropriate place, right? So it doesn't matter what you're using along the stack, as long as the model is not changed, then you're guaranteed of the same success in development for deployment as you would be on some other stack in production.
Sure. And guys, we've seen this with the cloud. Right, where people maybe didn't want to get locked into a specific public cloud provider, or didn't want to get locked into public cloud or private cloud or OpenStack or whatever, right? They wanted to have the ability to really move with whatever is the best platform for the project. So this is, it's not a new concept, but it's something that's kind of really necessary in there.
And to help take that rocket science out of learning all these new stacks, the developers, they want to experiment. They want to try these new things. Giving the ops teams the ability to take the rocket science out of supporting that, giving them the ability to deploy to these targets without having to know the details of that native orchestration service that they're deploying to. That's a real benefit for the operations teams.
Agreed. So, advisory board. Containers, microservices. What else do you have for us, Steve?
Well, the other big thing that we're focused on is predictive analytics, business insights, dashboards. And so, for quite some time, the focus in DevOps has really been around automation. And first it was sort of the silos of automation, configuration management, test automation. With application release automation, you could start orchestrating, the end-to-end delivery pipeline. But now the real next step is, what are the metrics? What is the status of what I'm doing with my DevOps initiative? And so, as we all know, measurement is a key aspect of DevOps. What is my hypothesis? What are the metrics we're going to measure to see if we're getting there? And what we can do now with our solution is we can start surfacing up some of those metrics. And of course, there's the standard release automation metrics of, okay, what's my release cycle time? How many of my releases are successful? What percentage are successful by environment? But because Electric Cloud has plugins to all the tools in the tool chain, what we can do is we can extract the metrics and serve up business metrics for the whole end-to-end DevOps pipeline. And so you can start getting a better understanding of how my business is doing. You can start getting visibility to new releases that are coming down the pipeline early on. So if you're sitting on the ops side, you have more visibility, not just to your service management tool, but you can see where this microservice or where this application is in sort of the delivery pipeline. And the other advantage with this, of course, is if you run into an issue, if something is bottlenecked, rather than having to log into all these tools, you can drill down. If I've got a security violation that appears, rather than going to my security validation scanning tool, I can actually go single pane of glass in Electric Flow and drill down and find out what was that security validation
and when
issue.
we're talking at enterprise scale,
Yeah.
that kind of time savings, of course, is huge.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah, absolutely. Guys, we're about out of time here, but we will continue this conversation in San Francisco.
Yeah, look forward to seeing you again in November.
Right, and we'll probably, maybe Steve, not with you, but I'm sure I'll talk to Sam before then as well. Just also quickly, wanted to mention a quick shout out. I forgot the name of the video series you guys
C9D9.
do. C9D9.
Continuous discussions. Yeah, absolutely.
Always great. I've been on.
Yes.
But always great discussions, great panelists, great stuff. Where can people find that, Sam?
You can go just look on Google for C9D9. It's a shortened form of continuous discussion, or you can come to the Electric Cloud website and see it there.
Fantastic. Sam Fell, Steve Brodie, Electric Cloud here at DevOps Enterprise Summit London 2017. This is Alan Schimmel for DevOps.com and DevOps TV.